Okay, so welcome back from the break. We are continuing with our topic of locomotion, which we've already noted. It involves the movement of the whole organism from one place to another. We have ended at a point when we are looking at the types of skeletons, where we have seen that there are three types of skeleton. We talked about the hydrostatic skeleton, the exoskeleton, and the endoskeleton. We've ended at a point when we have seen the hydrostatic skeleton. We now move ahead and we look at another type of skeleton, and that is the exoskeleton. The word exo simply means outside. Therefore, it is a type of skeleton that is found outside the body of an organism. Outside the body of an organism. Meaning it encloses all the other parts inside, and for it is outside. However, it is found in organisms like the insects and mollusks, shells in mollusks. Now, it is made up of a substance which we are calling chitin. Because it is found on the outside, it limits growth in the organism. Why? Because it is not flexible. Therefore, the organism cannot increase in size when there is that exoskeleton. That is why organisms that have it, like insects, if they are to increase in size, they must shed it off so that they can increase in size and later develop a new one. That whole process referred to as molting. Now in our visual there, we can see an insect that is shed off the exoskeleton. The lower part of the image, which appears darker brown, is the exoskeleton. And this other organism now was covered by the exoskeleton. Therefore, that exoskeleton, the one that appears darker brown in the lower part of our image, we can see that it was found on the outside of the body of this insect. That is why we have said that an exoskeleton is found outside the body of the organism, and it does not allow the organism to increase in size. Otherwise, if it is to increase, then it should carry out what you're calling molting. We've all seen common insects like cockroaches. When you look at a cockroach, that outer layer that you see made of chitin is what we are calling the exoskeleton. Then the other type of skeleton is called the endoskeleton. Endo simply means inside. Exo out, while endo inside. Therefore, the endoskeleton is a skeleton that is found inside the body of an organism. Like in your body, in the bodies of mammals, we have an endoskeleton. When you look at your body, the skeleton is inside, and then the flesh is outside. Remember, we say the skeleton could be a framework of bones. Where do we find bones in your body? You realize the bones are found inside, and it is a common skeleton in vertebrates. When we try to see this image here, we can't see a human being. That is the skeleton. But when you look at a human being from the outside, you don't see those bones. Why? Because it is found inside. That's the term endoskeleton. We can see the image of a dog. That dog also has an endoskeleton because it is a vertebrate. And we said the endoskeletons are common in vertebrates. Vertebrates, like human beings, like dogs, like fish, they have a skeleton inside. The birds, because they are all vertebrates. So because it is inside, that is why we are calling it an endoskeleton. The endoskeleton is made of bone and cartilage. Bone is harder, tougher. Cartilage is softer and more flexible. In our bodies, our endoskeleton has cartilage at particular parts, like the ear, like the nose. These are made up of cartilage. However, in young babies, most of their skeleton is made of cartilage. But as the baby goes on developing, growing, cartilage turns into bone, a process we refer to as ossification. Therefore, ossification is the process by which cartilage forms bone. Cartilage and bone are the components of the endoskeleton. We have seen that bone is harder than cartilage. Why? Because bone has a material called calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate. All right. So in summary, our three types of skeletons, we've talked of the hydrostatic, the exoskeleton outside, and the endoskeleton inside. Hydrostatic, remember we said fluid filled. Endoskeleton, inside the body. Exoskeleton, the one that we find outside the body. So those are the three types of skeletons that we do have existing. Now let us look at the advantages of the endoskeleton over the exoskeleton. Is it advantageous to have an endo or an exo? In other words, what are the advantages of having a skeleton inside your body over those organisms that have a skeleton outside? The endoskeleton, like the one you have in your body, is more flexible than the exo. Why is it flexible? Because of the joints. When we look at the skeleton, we can see the joints. Look at the dog, the skeleton of a dog. It has joints. Look at the skeleton of a human. It has joints. That is why your body, you also have joints at different parts. By having joints at all those different parts, that makes your body flexible. Therefore, the endoskeleton is more flexible. Hence, it facilitates or brings about easier movement than the exoskeleton. Number two, the endoskeleton, being made up of bone, is harder. Being harder, that means it offers better protection to the inner organs. That skeleton, which is made of bone, harder, offers better protection to the inner organs compared to the exoskeleton, which is not as hard as the endo. Remember, the endo is made up of cartilage and bone. The exo is made up of only chitin. Number three, the third advantage, the endoskeleton allows greater and continuous growth. Remember, we said that for organisms having the exoskeleton, in order for them to increase in size, they must shed off that exoskeleton so that they increase in size and later develop a new skeleton. Why? Because the exoskeleton does not allow continuous growth. But the endo, its advantage is it allows greater and continuous growth. That is why you're able to grow continuously without any molting, because you have the endoskeleton, an advantage over the exoskeleton. The endoskeleton, in addition, can manufacture red and white blood cells. That skeleton you see there is having bones. Within these bones, there is manufacture of red blood cells that transport oxygen. There is manufacture of white blood cells that play a role in defending the body. Remember, when we talk of the advantages of the endoskeleton over the exoskeleton, these can as well be disadvantages of the exoskeleton. They are advantages of the endo, but at the same time they are disadvantages of the exoskeleton. For example, when I get a question asking me, what are the disadvantages of the exoskeleton? I will say, the exoskeleton is not or is less flexible than the endo. Therefore, it does not permit easier movement. The exoskeleton is softer, is not as hard as the endo. Therefore, it does not offer greater or better protection to the inner organs. The exoskeleton does not allow greater or continuous growth. The exoskeleton does not manufacture red blood cells, neither does it manufacture white blood cells. Yet the endo manufactures those. Therefore, the advantages of the endoskeleton are the disadvantages of the exoskeleton. However, the exoskeleton also has some advantages over the endo. We look at these. The endoskeleton, the exoskeleton, the one outside, protects all the inner parts of the organism, unlike the endo. Remember, the endo is inside, while other body parts are outside it. Therefore, it does not protect all the body parts. Like the muscles and blood vessels, the endoskeleton cannot protect them, while the exo protects all the body parts. The exoskeleton is lighter and offers less burden to the organism. It is lighter. The endoskeleton, being made of bone, is heavier. On the other hand, what are the disadvantages of the endoskeleton over the exo? Or disadvantages of endoskeleton generally? We say it cannot protect all the inner parts. Number two, the endoskeleton is heavy compared to the exoskeleton. All right. So those are the advantages of the endo over the exo, and the advantages of the exo over the endoskeleton. We take a break, and in our next part, we are going to look at locomotion in particular organisms, and we are going to begin by looking at locomotion in insects. How do insects locomote? That is our next session, locomotion in insects.